Alright, we are in Berea, Kentucky, and we are going to hike some of the pinnacles. We'll see how many we get to. But it's not a really extensive trail system here. Maybe 5 to 7 miles or so if you did all of them, based on what I could tell. So we'll just see how far we get today. And just doing a day hike. And I think we'll probably at least go to the East Pinnacle, and then probably the Indian Fort, and possibly the West Pinnacle after that. And anything else would be bonus at this point, probably. But we've got the dogs in tow for this day hike, and we'll bring you along. Let's go. So the trails so far, anyway, are pretty nice and wide. They're a good, 8 feet wide and sort of gravelly. It's a really nicely shaded trail. Pretty comfortable, even in the heat of the summer. With all the vegetation, right now you don't get a sense of what the terrain really looks like, but so since we are going to a pinnacle, I guess we can expect more of this. Lots of uphill. Alright, first juncture. Now we're going to do east, 1.1 miles to the right. Once you hang a right, you can get onto the East Pinnacle Trail. It's pretty level so far. I mean, we've only gone, a tenth of a mile, but compared to the hike up here, which was only a little over half a mile, it was all pretty much uphill. Enough to get your heart rate up and get your breathing going a little bit. Definitely a nice warm-up to get you going. But so far on this trail, nice and flat. As we saw on the main trail coming in, it's about probably 8 feet wide, so you can easily walk side to side. But on these side trails, going to the individual pinnacles, it's more like a 3 or 4 foot situation. Still pretty nice and pretty open. So even on these narrower trails, it's relatively easy to keep the dogs out of the brush along the side of the trail. Hopefully avoid ticks that way. Right, Chloe? Wouldn't you agree it's a good idea, Chloe? One thing I will say on this trail so far, massive amounts of poison ivy. If your motivation for staying on the trail or keeping your dogs on the trail is to avoid ticks, you might want to add avoiding poison ivy exposure to that list. Poop bag. The joys of bringing your dogs on the trail with you. Especially when you're just half a mile in and they decide to drop a deuce. Now, I did bring the drone with me. I checked their website and I found a trail rules thing on there, and it said just foot traffic only, but there's no mention at all that drones aren't permitted. And I did notice there are at least 4 or 5 YouTube videos from recent months from this area that do have drone footage, actually pretty much exclusively. So people have been running their drones around here. Of course, certainly don't want to degrade anybody else's experience, so I have the drone in the backpack, so we'll see how it works out. Looks like we're at the first junction. Go left to Indian Fort, and then I guess we're going to keep to the right. See if we can get to the East Pinnacle. Sunny part was pretty short-lived. Back into the canopy now. So getting into some nice rock formations. Pretty cool. So not a lot of sand and quartz in the rock formations. In fact, here's a great example. Just look at it. You can tell that's compacted sediment. Probably the same geologic history as Red River Gorge. Here's our first obvious stone outcropping. This is the first really major, large, flat outcrop. All right, we are going to try to do at least one drone shot here. It's a pretty epic rock table, and there's nobody around, so we'll give it a shot. Hit the trail again, one pinnacle down. Let's find a trail tune. Okay. I really like this section through here. We are just past the junction from East Pinnacle going toward Indian Fort. And we're definitely back on a pretty good aggressive uphill segment, but they're pretty short-lived. So definitely not something that the average person can't handle for sure. And I think it's only 0.6 miles from the junction to Indian Fort, so we'll see what we have when we get there. Finally, some flat spots. So we're to the trail junction here. We can head to the Indian Lookout, only 0.2 miles from here. To the left, I think we'll have to save the yellow trail for another day, but Buzzard's Roost and Eagle's Nest sounds pretty cool. But maybe when we have more time. Oh wow. Right here it is. walking along here, and right here in the trail there's a pretty massive crack. It's a good 30-foot drop. So a kid could still fall through there easy enough. Oh, coming up to another outcropping. That big cave thing on the side, that rock cutout below the trail. I don't know if that was the Indian fort or if this overlooks something else. But this is pretty darn cool too. Pretty expansive flat rock area. Overlooking, well, that. You having fun, Dobbs?
Lay down. I'm not going anywhere. Here, lay down. You're fine. Lay down. Lay down.
Big doggy.
Lay down.
Alright, so we're just off the Indian Fort Lookout Spur Trail. And now we're at the little juncture here. So we'll head to the West Pinnacle, another 0.6 miles. It does say difficult descent, so that should be interesting. Find out how good our hybrid mountain goat does. Alright, we just scrambled down that little thing here. And then the very next thing is down here. So I may have to put the camera away for this one. You are doing great, mountain goat. Look at what we just came down so far. Doesn't qualify as technical climbing, but yeah, with dogs in tow. Especially midget dog. Yeah. It lightens up from here on out, I think. he says, hopefully. They did say difficult. If that's as bad as it was, then we're okay. What a tripper. Oh, that makes sense. Now we have a sign saying difficult climb. It's like something from Stranger Things. Wow. Not where I expected the junction to be, but here we are. 0.1 miles to West Pinnacle. Well, this last 0.1 miles up to the West Pinnacle is certainly fairly dramatic. It's pretty much a constant rock scramble, which is cool. Good thing our dogs are part mountain goat. Where to go from here? Could be that. Could be this. I think it's probably this. It's going to be a scramble either way. Chloe's like, are you sure you want to do this? I think we've reached the end of the road. Now we just gotta... Well, I don't know what we gotta do. Maybe there's another trail up to that top rock. Kind of looks like maybe that's where we should be. Well, this is West Pinnacle. Quite a bit more of a challenge because then you got to really scramble to get up here. I think I could probably manage it, but I just don't know if it's worth it. I've already scrambled quite a bit just to get where I am. Not really feasible to bring the dogs up here, but it is pretty cool. What do you think, Chloe? Oh, we made it back to the juncture that takes us back to the main parking lot. So we got about a half a mile to go. So in total, we probably did either 5 or 5.5 miles for those 3 pinnacle scenic overlooks. And really impressed with the area. Trails are in great shape, aside from the massive amount of poison ivy, which is crazy. But yeah, we're back onto the really wide trail, as you can probably see behind me. It's a good 8 feet wide. But yeah, so it's just less than an hour's drive from Lexington and a little over 2 hours drive from Cincinnati. Highly recommend this place. The Pinnacles at Berea, Kentucky. Check it out.